Let's do this. Hey, what's happening, Myles?
Yo, Brian.
Yo. You ready for an absolutely zero chance in hell we're going to have any complaints about this show?
Yeah, because I'm to be honest, I'm pretty bored of all the complaints we get every week.
Yeah, we needed to up the ante and like talk about some shit that people are really gonna get mad about. So let's just do this and let's dive in and let's have some fun and then we can all snuggle up and have pizza together. You ready to start the show?
Let's start the show.
Let's do it. This is PSVR GamesCast Live. We film live every single Monday, Wednesday, and thank God it's Friday, right here on YouTube, 6 p.m. Eastern. Just found out that, holy crap, dude, do you know what time it is in Australia right now? One of our loyal cats in Australia was like, what time is that in Australia? And I was like, I don't know. Let me Google it. It's
Saturday.
like 8 a.m. tomorrow. Like who's getting up at 8 a.m. on a Saturday to watch the show? But I guess some people are actually staying up. Don't forget, guys, you can watch this show not live if you feel like it, with some timestamps provided to us by our good friend Sci-Fi Game Cat Henry, or you can listen to it on podcast services of your choice. Of course, uploaded by our good friend Jay Meow, who we love and appreciate, just like we love and appreciate all of you. Want to make sure we said that before we get too deep into this first conversation. Myles, how you doing? You doing all right over there?
Over here in the UK, I mean, to be honest, we all have our issues at the moment. The cost of living crisis is the term that's used a lot at the moment. Mass inflation, lots of people losing their jobs. It's a pretty tough economy. And politically, we're in the wilderness, really, with terrible leadership just when you need it. And obviously, I've been tuning into the radio, and there was big news in the US today. Want to talk about it?
Yeah, I think everybody knows by now that the Supreme Court here in the States decided to overturn Roe V Wade, which federally protected a woman's right to get an abortion. Now it's going to be up to the states, and about half the states or more are already set to make abortion illegal. So it's certainly something that affects a lot of people, and I'm sure a lot of cats out there it'll affect, a lot of cats' families, I think it's been super easy to be a game cat, Myles, because we preach love and acceptance, and we say that knowing full well that we all have different viewpoints and different perspectives on the way things are run, on government, on morality, and everything. And so far we've made it really, really easy to be a game cat and preach that love and acceptance because we generally don't talk about politics. We generally don't talk about religion. And if you don't know where somebody stands on something, it's so easy to say, "Oh, I fucking love you," right? Because I don't have a reason not to. So this is certainly going to test the cats out there to say, listen, can we still love and accept each other, myself included, knowing that we have some major differences when it comes to our beliefs. And my goal here is to say, yes, we fucking can. We can absolutely love and accept each other, despite the fact that we have major barricades between us. I want to make sure that we're not here to say, fuck you to anybody. We're not here to say, you're not welcome because you don't have the same beliefs. But this is something super important to talk about. And, I think at least one cat is getting their wish. Because they wanted us to talk about politics last week. So I guess.
Oh, geez, I forgot about that. That is true, yeah.
So we're gonna do this just for a minute, and I just want to say, it was. I found it actually surprising to see all those Sony first party studios out there, tweeting today. I was like Sucker Punch and Media Molecule and Bend, all of these studios tweeting about, they're out there supporting women's rights. And so many of the responses were stick to making games. We don't want to hear your fucking opinions. Stick to making games because they didn't agree with the opinions they had. Well, And maybe you're thinking that about me right now. Stick to playing VR games. Stick to reviewing VR games. Stick to talking about VR games. I want you guys to know, if in case for some reason you have this belief that people should just shut the fuck up and not talk about this stuff, we're not 2D cartoon characters. We're people, and we're not defined by our jobs. And I hope you're not defined by your job either. I hope that you're a well-rounded human being and you have all sorts of beliefs. And I don't think you should shut the fuck up about it either, right? What happened today is crazy. I mean, I'm obviously not a woman, but I stand by every woman out there, and I obviously believe that they have the right to choose. And I'd fight alongside like any of my fellow human beings if I thought that their rights were in danger. I'd stand by you. I'd fight for you. I'd fight with you. And I hope you'd fight for me. Because it's not ending here. The Supreme Court made it clear they're coming for my community next. They're banning contraception. That's their mission. They're banning, they don't fucking like gay people, and they're out to take our rights away. It's not stopping at women. And so I hope that you're with me, just like I'd be there for you. Sorry.
No, it's very well said, Brian. And I'm mindful, some people have joked in the chat of like, we got rid of the British, we don't need them butting their way in politics again. And, you know, it's a fair point. But the thing that I've definitely learned a lot over the years, and I've done a lot of videos in the past on American politics, and people are like, why are you so interested in American politics? And for me, it's because America actually sets messages and standards to the world. You know, it's called land of the free. Leaders of the free world. And, you know, every country has its problems, but a lot of people look to the United States. And what has happened today is pretty depressing on a whole range of issues, for a whole range of reasons based on this issue. And firstly, I'd say that, you know, for me, it's always about empathy and compassion. And I have people in my life who I fundamentally disagree with. A lot of them will be on the other side of this issue, but we discuss it. And, you know, that is what we need to do. But when there are things that change that have real consequences to people's lives in ways that are frankly dangerous and destructive, we have to speak out. And so I guess 3 things I want to say, although 2 of them only come to mind right now. So maybe once I've done the first 2, the third one will come to mind. But the first one is, this is a real reminder that I think often in life, we're all parts of generations that have never experienced directly war. You know, there's war in the world at the moment, unless we've served in the military, but a lot of us have had quite sheltered lives. We've lived in peacetime. And so I think it's very easy for us to take our freedoms for granted. And so I think that what's happened today is a reminder that it's not just always about fighting for what you want, but it's also fighting for what you currently have and want to remain. So it's about not taking those things for granted. Secondly, without going too specifically into what today was about, but it's about abortions. Today isn't about banning abortions. It's about banning safe abortions. Whenever I've seen discussion being made, and I know people that have, you know, had abortions and made that difficult decision, the discussion is not that there are people that are gleefully getting abortions. You might always find exceptions to the rule in really extreme circumstances, but they are incredibly difficult decisions for people to make. It should be, you know, within the privacy between someone and their doctor. And I just think that the way that this is being handled is you know, you look at how politicians deal with other issues that they do so poorly, and it's like, and you want them to control, you know, this kind of thing as well. So yeah, those are the 2 points. And then the third one, which I was hoping was going to come to mind by now already, but it's kind of like, it's about the importance of where we go from here, and it is about having conversations. Again, there are going to be people maybe in the chat who don't agree with our stance, and on the one hand I go, that's okay, but on the other hand it's like, I do think this situation isn't okay. I think if you're someone that doesn't believe, you know, in abortions, then it's your right to choose not to have it. But I think that people that do want to have it should have the right to have them safely with a doctor. And so, yeah, the things that have been echoed by SCOTUS, or sorry, the Supreme Court, about utterings of states' rights regarding contraception and also gay marriage and things like that, is pretty terrifying. And I remember what the third point now was, which is we like to think in the modern day that we're really making progress as a world and a society, but progress doesn't go in a straight line. I do see it as like the tide coming in, it goes out and it goes in, and so there are going to be drawbacks. But that doesn't mean that we go, oh, but it's still going in the right direction. No, we do have to fight for things and make a stand. And Brian was mentioning the point about people saying, you know, just stick to making games. When politicians talk about these issues, they often get accused of making things political. Well, you know what? The world is a political place. Politics is about the society and the world that we live in. And so we should talk about it, because by closing down discussion, we allow things to be unresolved, and then it allows for decisions to be made that perhaps aren't in the best interests of everyone. So, yeah, that's all I wanted to say on that. And I think that's the end. That's all we've got time for today.
Time for 20 questions, I think, Myles. Yeah. Listen, we want to make sure that, you know, people have the opportunity to say what they want to say, but please just keep it respectful. Like, that's what we're here to do. You know, we want to foster this awesome community that we've got. We just lost one. I saw her in the chat. I even checked. He unsubscribed. Goodbye. You know, if you can't handle a difference of opinions and keep it respectful, then that is totally fine. It is 100% your call whether you want to stay in this community or not. I fucking love you. You don't have to love me. I'm very used to unrequited love, right? It goes back a long way. It's okay. But thank you.
And it's also, and Brian, it's also in the context of like, this isn't something we do often. Like, you know, people that have been around know that we don't have these conversations on here often. But there is a time and place to have certain conversations, and this is definitely one of them. So yeah, people have a choice whether they want to engage with a community or not. And if they were triggered by this and they want to write off the entire community in this show because of that, then that's completely their choice. I respect it. I think it's a shame because they're going to miss a great conversation today about single player campaign games. But yeah, it is what it is. Different people respond to things in different ways.
For sure. And I appreciate you, Myles, being here and being able to speak about this. And you know, and I appreciate everybody in the chat. I appreciate my cat, and I appreciate everybody in the chat also like being very respectful. You guys are amazing. And thank you for like really, you know, demonstrating what a real game cat is. I love you guys.
You want to see something funny to lighten things up?
Dude, I think we've been watching a trailer for Shadow Point the entire time. How seriously can you take this discussion when there's like a fucking but also look at this game about shadow puppets. Thank you very much. Okay, what were you going to say before I cut you off?
Well, I was clearing out my office and I found a birthday card from February that I've kept, and I want to keep it. And I'm probably going to keep it in the background at some point because it's one of my all-time favorite cards, and I just wanted to show everyone it because it's really good. The first bit is people like you don't come around every day, and then it says, "Not since we put up that no weirdo sign." I thought that is great. That is a great Myles card right there, because I am a weirdo, like many people in the chat, which is why I engage with you so much.
I feel like you're just preparing to be a dad, because every joke you make is such a dad joke.
Dude, it is so bad. It is really bad, because I used to hate dad jokes. I don't know. There's some energy you get from people groaning. I don't know what it is. But I showed that on my live show this week on Wednesday. Was talking about childhood TV shows. My live show is currently offline. It got a few copyright claims to not just demonetize, which it wasn't being monetized anyway, but to take it down. But I'm disputing it, so stay tuned, because it was a really great show. We're just talking about like shows we used to watch as a kids, and yeah, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was on there, which in the UK was called Teenage Mutant
Hero
Turtles. Yeah, because Ninja was seen as too violent, even though it doesn't change what happens in the show at all.
Right.
Have you played the new Turtles game?
Not yet.
You got it though. I want to get it.
Okay, so I'm still, even with my Switch, and that's where I play like a lot of games that I just want to play in bed, like kind of flat screen games. Like the Switch is kind of my place for that. And so And so I've been waiting for a physical version to show up, and it's being printed by Limited Run Games, even though it's being sold through like Amazon and every other retailer. And so the physical version's not gonna be out for like 2.5 months. And I was like, well, I'll just watch everyone else enjoy playing it, and then I'll finally play it for myself in 2.5 months.
They need to make a VR port for it, like what's the End Dreams side-scrolling beat 'em up?
Oh, Bloody Zombies.
Yeah. Yeah.
Agreed. I don't even.
Oh, the other thing, the other funny, like, amusing thing is, I was so hot, like, not just sexy. That goes without saying. Last Friday, I was really hot because the country was just so hot, and so I ordered an air conditioning unit. I splashed out. It arrived on Monday. I've set it up. It's a nightmare to get the pipe out the window, and that it doesn't kind of work. But I've worked it out, and the temperature has dropped. So it's just. I mean, at least I'm prepared now, but I'm a bit disappointed I haven't been able to experience the wonders of air conditioning, which is standard in the US, right? Most places in the US come with aircon.
Shockingly, no. But what are you going to do? It really depends. You know, and if you do, you certainly pay for it, man. I remember living in Tennessee, and turning on the AC was like a big deal. Are we going to be able to afford this at the end of the month? We're all waiting tables, making like, almost nothing. And we're like, I don't know if we can afford to turn on the AC today. I'm like, okay, well, let's go find a pool that we can sneak into.
Oh, so not everywhere in America has AC. I guess America does have some problems with it. Yeah.
Yeah. You guys are having a huge heat wave right now, though, right?
Yeah, it has cooled down this week, but the weather's been great. But yeah, it will definitely spike up again.
Myles, let's get a few of these comments out of the way, a few of these tips, and then we're going to dive straight into some PSVR news. Promise you this will be where everything transitions. Now let's try on the Game Fuel line with the $5 tips. Has just wanted you to know that as a person living in the glorious Pacific Northwest, I am right there with you, Brian. This fight is just the beginning. Thank you, Niles Tryon. We got Cyber Expanse VR with a $20 tip. Thank you so much. Says, I'm with you, Brian. Thanks for standing up. Thank you, Cyber Expanse. Mark Pringlesleaf with the $2 says, you have my back, Brian. We have each other's back. Nidauger, no kangaroos in Austria, the Game Cat. Oh my God. Every time I read this, it reminds me that I'm a fucking moron sometimes. With the €5 says, happy to leave in a few secs, but strong words, Brian. I was shocked too, and they won't stop at this point. And then finally, Ben L, the Game Cat Army, says, here's the secret to having political or religious discussions. Don't base your sense of self-worth upon changing the other person's mind. 100% true. I find engaging in discussions on Twitter is pointless. You're not going to change anyone's mind. You're going to just screaming into a void. People on both sides. It's not one-sided here. Both sides yell their opinion, and nobody out there goes, "That's a good point. You've just changed my mind," or "You made me reconsider this." There's not a single person out there whose mind you're going to change. We've all, buried our heads in the sand, buried our feet in the mud, and no one's fucking budging, and that's understandable. And finally, Cerebral Frost the Boopcat with the $100 tip says, I love you, Brian. I'm not good at standing up for stuff like this, but if this is the way you think this country should go, please don't buy my games. Thanks.
$100.
I don't even want to tell people what games you've made, Cerebral Frost, because you know what? Take their money too. Now let's talk about a game that we have to figure out whether you should buy at this point, and that is Stride. Dude, Stride is... there's a little bit of drama going on about Stride over on our Discord and over on Twitter right now, because I don't know if you saw this, Myles, but yesterday, Jay Meow asked them on Twitter what's going on with the PSVR version of the campaign, and they said, we've never announced that for PSVR. Which, I mean, a little bit of background, right? Stride's been out for only a couple months here on PlayStation VR. It's been in early access for a long time over on Steam. And then they talked about all these updates that were coming to the game before the PSVR version came out, right? They said they were talking about the campaign and how like right now it's just like 3 different arcade modes, but a campaign is coming, a single player campaign, because people were asking for it, and they're talking about multiplayer and all this other stuff. But at no point during those previews or video reveals did they ever say possibly only coming to certain headsets. They just didn't say anything. What do you think about all this, Myles? Is this fucking ridiculous? Like, should we be mad?
I mean, as someone who's not played it yet, I'm not that emotionally invested, but I do think there is this conversation about the way things are communicated in gaming, because consumers are smart these days. You know, think of how things used to be 10, 20 years ago with games. You'd get a magazine. Those were kind of the early updates you got, and you made do with what appeared on the shelf. Now, we don't just get trailers for games and announcements. We get all the behind the scenes. We get tweets, right, teasers, and this, sense of hype. And there are therefore discussions among communities like our own. And that is the modern world of gaming. Developers should know this. Some don't, if you're making a game like Abandoned. Or maybe you could say they do know, and that's why they do it. But in this case, I don't think there's anything, nefarious going on. I think it's clearly just a misstep on their part. But that doesn't necessarily mean they should therefore be unsurprised when people are like, oh, well, I've bought the game with an expectation. The price recently went up, right?
Yeah, so it had only been out for like a month or two or something, and then the price went from $15 to $20, and they said, "Stay tuned, you'll know why in the coming weeks." And so far, they haven't given us anything else. So it's starting to seem a little bit on the sketchy side, because everyone's like, "Oh, the campaign must be ready," and now they're gonna raise the price, and everybody who bought it for $15 is gonna feel like they got a great deal when the campaign comes out. Everyone who didn't buy $15, is gonna have to pay the full $20 for the full game. And it's like, well, what did you raise the price for? Also, this isn't the only sketchy thing that they've done recently. If any PC VR gamers out there might already be aware that Joyway just pulled Outlier, their other VR game, from the Steam store after being in early access for all of like 2 months. So, and their response was, "Oh, you can request a refund if this really bothers you." And it's like, well, that's it. That's it. You're just gonna start putting out games and not support them like one after another after another. And here's the thing. I get it. Right. I want to be real clear about this. PSVR is not an easy platform to develop for. Right. Hopefully PS5 and PSVR 2 will make things easier, and Sony will maybe like loosen their grip on a few things and be a little bit more third party friendly. Because right now, I haven't heard this from Joyway specifically, but I've heard it from plenty of other studios that it's just a fucking pain to develop for to kind of get through Sony's QA and get approval. So I get it, right? But the problem is like, it really is the messaging. It's like, if you please don't talk about this massive campaign that you've got planned, and then sort of pull the rug out from under us, kind of, after you've already gotten the money. And very likely they probably haven't sold that many copies of it. So I wouldn't be surprised about that either. So there's a lot of different reasons. If they only sold 100 copies or 200 copies, can you blame them for not adding some kind of free update, that's going to take way, way, way longer on PSVR? It's like, my answer is like sort of yes, but like logistically, no. I don't know, man. Like, and we should also be clear that, and I just feel like I'm rambling. We should also be clear that they haven't said it's not coming to PSVR. They just said we haven't announced anything yet. We want to make we don't know if we're even going to be capable of doing it on PlayStation VR. I don't know.
That could be them being cautious of, we haven't said anything about PSVR 2. I'm sure a lot of developers are also looking ahead for it. It just reminds me of, one of my life philosophies. It's under promise and over deliver, or right. Don't tell people, show them. Obviously, in marketing, it's not that straightforward. You do need to actually show something. It is unfortunate. I'm curious to know regarding the price going up, because my understanding is developers don't necessarily get a say on price changes. It's something Sony does. I always got, or maybe that's when it comes down to like discounts and the sales. They can't decide to do a discount on it, so maybe they can change the base price. It's just that they can't decide to do discounts whenever they want. That has to be something that's agreed with Sony. So in that case, I assume it was never at discount. It was just the actual full price change. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. And the funny thing is like now it's part of one of those sales that's going on right now. There's like 3 different sales going on right now, and like all of them include a couple PSVR games. I might get a sale video out this weekend, but fucking don't hold me to that because, God, those things are terrible to make.
We're long overdue for one. To be fair, I mean, we've not had one for at least 2 weeks.
Right. It took 3 days to make a sale video that like 4,000 people watched. But
4,000 grateful people.
I'm sure. Absolutely.
I'm sure of it as well.
Right. So I don't know. What are we talking about? Oh, the price. So it's funny that this game is actually currently on sale for, if you don't have Plus, it's like $1 more than it originally retailed for on sale. I will say, listen, if you bought Stride for $15, hopefully you bought it knowing what it was and didn't have any lofty expectations about what it was going to be. I'm pretty sure that in my review I said, they've said that a campaign is coming. But I based my review on the game that they delivered. And it's 3 arcade modes that I thought were really, really fun. This game has problems. It's not super smooth. Sometimes when you climb, there's this stuttering effect. The graphics are definitely on the blurrier side. But man, when you were running and free running and jumping and while running, it's just exhilarating, and I still think for the $15, it was absolutely worth it. My question at this point, I say don't buy it until we find out why they raised the price, and if there's actually more content coming, well then we can have another conversation and consider whether it's worth the $20 with the new additions. But right now, I'm like, no, $15 was a good price for this. So either buy it on sale or just hold off until they're a little bit more transparent about what their plans are for this.
Yeah, I mean, they've said, more stuff's coming because of the price and that. They could be sticking to their words. So, and also them saying we haven't announced that yet is not them denying it exists. So, it's just an unfortunate bit of messaging, really. But we'll just wait and see. I mean, it's a game that I've still not played, but I'm looking forward to giving it a go at some point.
Oh, absolutely. You need to play this.
Yeah.
I think it's so much fun. There's really nothing else like it on PSVR. It's very simple, but I found it to be really addictive. And you're really into fitness, especially with VR fitness. And I think this game makes you sweat big time. So I think you'll enjoy it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
I just want to say, I really do think that this is, hopefully we don't have to have many more conversations like this. We're coming to the tail end of the PSVR life cycle. And I'm really hoping that we don't have to worry about this kind of nonsense soon. Right now it's like we just had Among Us VR pulled out from under us. That's only going to be a PSVR 2 game, PSVR 2 launch title, in fact. The Shell Games, who actually makes Among Us, stop supporting Until You Fall on PSVR. And there's Swords of Gargantua is another one so it keeps happening. And so I get people's frustrations because it's sort of like, this is almost like the straw that broke the camel's back. It's just like, okay, we've had enough. Stop beating us up. I feel like we're being penalized. We're being punished for supporting this platform as long as we have, right? It's like, just come on, guys, come on. So hopefully my hope is that, and this is to all developers out there. So if any developers out there are listening, clip this and send it to every developer. Make your PlayStation VR 2 game and make it, if you're going to bring your PSVR 1 game to PlayStation VR 2, give us the resolution update, give us the controller update, whatever, and remember the people who supported you. Give us a free upgrade on if we own the game on PSVR 1, give us a free PSVR 2 upgrade. There's going to be so many new PSVR 2 gamers out there that you will make your money on the remaster or the PSVR 2 version, whatever you want to call it. But reward the people who supported you and give them a free upgrade. In that way, your game will be kind of in the zeitgeist. People will be talking about it, and it'll be part of the conversation. It'll be part of the conversation right here on GAMESCAST, right? Because all the people in the comments will be talking about your game because they already have it. And other people will go, what's that game? Oh, I should buy that because I didn't buy it on PSVR 1. I'll buy it on PSVR 2, right? That's going to be the smart thing. The VR community is about to explode by millions. Millions and millions of new players out there will finally take get into VR with PSVR 2. So it's free advertising if you make the PSVR 2 upgrade free. Don't forget that, guys.
I will be clipping that.
That's what they do. That's what they should do with Stride. It's like, hey guys, we're really sorry. This would be the perfect way to apologize and say, we tried to make it work on PSVR 1. It didn't work. We're sorry, but to reward you, we'll give you the PSVR 2 version for free, and the PSVR 2 version, we promise you, will have the multiplayer and the campaign. It's the only fair way to do this.
Yeah.
Steve Dyer, says, we had a good run. Can't complain. Not even the N64 got 6 years. True point. Very good. Okay. Do you want to keep talking about Stride for the next half hour, or should we move on to another topic?
What about this PlayStation talent show, Brian?
Yeah, on June 30th. So that's like next week, man. We got let me check the date here. That's next
Thursday. Yeah, next Thursday. Yeah.
I guess we should probably stream this. I didn't even consider this. PlayStation Talents Showcase. By PlayStation, obviously. PlayStation Talents, if you're not familiar, basically these really small, I think they tend to be Spanish studios. They generally really, really independent studios with only a couple of people at the helm. PlayStation basically has this initiative where they sponsor them and they fund their projects, and that's how we got games like Intruders Hide and Seek. That's how we got unfortunate games like Neon Hat that just was so close to being cool and just didn't come together at the end, and that's how we're gonna get Do Not Open by developer Nox Noctis. Have you been keeping up with Do Not Open, Miles?
I have not, unfortunately.
All right. Let me tell you what Do Not Open is. It's right up my alley, right? I love escape rooms.
No, I saw the initial announcement and stuff, and from your previous discussions, I just haven't followed anything else since then. So yeah.
Okay.
But for the game Cat's watching, lay it out, Brian.
Yeah, it's a horror themed escape room, and as you know, I can never get enough horror, and I love escape rooms. The difference with this one is that it's procedurally generated, so you can play through it over and over and over, and you'll find like combinations to like safes or whatever, or padlocks in different places than they were before. They're different numbers than they were before, and so it looks terrifying. It looks like you're gonna be able to play this on the flat screen or PSVR. And maybe even PSVR 2 if they've announced that, probably not. So I'm excited to at least play through this once, and then I'm really curious to see how big the changes are between gameplays, right? If you're advertising it as this procedurally generated escape room, like those differences better be pretty major to make it feel completely different the next time. Like the example that I gave was like, oh, that padlock combination is just in a different place. Not good enough, right? That has to be one of the many, many things that are totally different. So I'm very curious to see how this one turns out.
Yeah, I mean the whole idea behind it is amazing. And it's another example of a game that I can't wait to play and also don't want to play. The best combination. I genuinely am. Going back to what you were saying about like developers with PSVR and upgrading them for PSVR 2 so we can be the ones that market it. This is how I feel about games like this. I hope that the broadcast aspect of PSVR 2 is going to be a huge upgrade because I love streaming VR. But on the current headset, the only way you're going to do a half decent job is if you do it through your own broadcast system, not through PlayStation's own interface. So, because streaming horror games, especially for me who hates them and, on Resident Evil 7 spent 10 minutes pacing around the laundry room, unable to go through a door. People live for that, and I die for it.
Yeah. I mean, when you can't physically convince yourself to take a step forward or open a door, like that to me is success. Like you've done it. Like congratulations, you've made something too scary to play. Like that is a dream come true. And that is exactly how I felt with Resident Evil 7. I'm not expecting that in Do Not Open, right? Because Do Not Open is, again, the PlayStation Talents Initiative. This is a very, very small team with grand aspirations. And again, we've seen sort of the limitations of some of these smaller studios. And but unlike Intruders was fine, but it had a very PS2 quality to it, and just horrible character models. But some of it was really good. And Neon Hat was just rushed out. Unfortunately, it didn't get enough love before it got pushed out the door. With this was supposed to be out October 31st. It was supposed to be a Halloween game of last year, 2021. And the fact that they not only got extra time from Sony, but they've also got extra funding. They were able to get a brand new composer in there, like some famous composer, to do all the soundtrack. Like they've told me that all this extra time is going to make the game so much better, which is obvious. Every PR person on the face of the planet should be saying those things, but there's something about it that I kind of believe. Like the fact that they were given this extra time means somebody over at Sony saw what they were working on and said,
right,
we'll give you some more time to make this right.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah.
And it makes me wonder how many other games that's happened with as well.
True. Now,
we always assume it's devs that are making the calls, but there's going to be a lot of times where, every time Sony might have said to the team that, goes through all the team that deals with checks, that when games are submitted, they get a quality assurance and all that. Sony may have said, Jim Ryan personally, when you're checking these games now, if there's something that looks excellent, we'll list it and we'll see if we can do a deal with them to say hold off until just the next generation. At least make that an offer, because they might be saying right now we think it for a new game or a new IP is going to have a better chance if we bring it in as a launch title for PSVR 2. Some games actually are worth being cross-platform. So like Saints and Sinners, that would be a great example where, you would want it to come on both platforms because it's such a big IP and successful IP. There's going to be a lot of people with current headsets that are just waiting to play it. So people that get it for one are going to want to play it on both.
This showcase is happening on the 30th, which, like I said, is a Thursday. Obviously, I'll stream it because we know Do Not Open is going to be there. But I guess there's always a possibility of announcements of new PlayStation Talents Initiative games. Obviously these all started somewhere, and I think they said there's going to be at least 20 games shown at this showcase. Maybe we'll get another PSVR game or a PSVR 2 game shown off. That would be pretty interesting.
Yeah, fungus in my garden too. That'd be good.
Shut your mouth, young man. Donatello the Scientist Game Cat with the $5 tip says, I think we deserve a Myles Dyer Do Not Open first impression live stream. I'm gonna have to send you like a green screen and stuff, get you all set up, and like make sure that we can see you fall to your knees when you when the ghost scares the fuck out of you.
I don't want to become the Dave Jackson of PlayStation Access for PSVR Parole. I don't know if anyone that's watched PlayStation Access YouTube channel, Dave is the one that hates horror games, and they always put him in horror games. And I genuinely wonder, how that passes the HR department, because I'm like, I think this goes beyond bullying. But he's amazing. He's really animated. I actually think he's way braver than me. Yeah.
Myles, I don't know if you caught this, but yesterday there were a bunch of people, different VR journalists, VR gamers, VR people, all over the place on Twitter, and they were all posting their top 5 single-player VR campaigns. I don't know if you caught any of that, but
I did. It was a very vibrant discussion. I loved it.
As I was typing out my list, there's of course a Twitter limit, right? And I wanted to I didn't want to make 5 separate tweets or like some big thread so that I could explain why I liked each one. But as I was typing them out, I just desperately wanted to talk about each one. And we're like, right. Oh, you know what? It's a good thing we have this show where we can actually talk about each one. But before we dive into them, Myles, what do you think makes single player campaigns so appealing? We live in this world where everybody's like co-op or PvP or whatever. They want to play with other people, but there is something appealing about single player campaigns, don't you think?
Absolutely. I mean, when I think about, the games I love playing overall, even on flat screen, I love a lot of the, the long form story, single player adventures, The Last of Us, God of War, Uncharted. And I think there's a lot of instances where I love to experience that in VR as well. In terms of, what it is about those experiences, I think that this is going to involve making comparisons with multiplayer where it's not that one is good and the other's bad. It's that they have different offerings. So for multiplayer, the good thing about multiplayer games is there's a lot of spontaneity, because then, you're not programming AI for the most part. You're with other human beings. And so when you change your tactics so will the other humans that you play with, and so the possibilities are infinite. But by having that, it means you have less control on the structure and maybe the story you want to tell, as a game developer. So within single player games, you can do a lot more signposting, and that's not necessarily explicit signposting of like go here, go there, but you can set the environments knowing that no, this is the player, this is what they're going to see at each point, and the only interactions they're going to have is with AI and things that we've planted in the game. So I think that you can have much deeper experiences, deeper in a different way. And when I think of the single player campaign games that I've enjoyed most, it's exactly for that reason, that you're taken on this journey that is believable. And again, I think multiplayer is great for being with friends and that, but people can take you out of it. So like when I've been on Rec Room doing the PT creation, you can do it with 2 other friends. It's still creepy, but you've also got friends going, "Oh yeah, did you hear that? That was well spooky." And it's like it's kind of like it takes you a bit out of what you're in. Whereas if you're in single player, it's like, no, I am in this world right now. So yeah, that's what comes to mind. What about you, Brian?
I think the more I thought about this since yesterday, I started wondering why I liked single player games so much, and I always have. I've always preferred single player to multiplayer. I love getting in there when playing some multiplayer. I miss playing Starblood Arena and dodgeball guns, of course. Like all these, fire. I mean, we can go on and on and on about all the great multiplayer games that there are. But I play multiplayer games for a much, much different reason. I play multiplayer games for the interaction more than anything else. Like the games are fine, all those games are fine, but I do them because I want to hang out with people.
Yeah.
And I'm very much an introvert in my real life, IRL. And so I find that the games that I gravitate towards are games that are post-apocalyptic or pre-other people, apparently, according to my list. Like this is a game that takes place before there's like other people around or whatever. Survival games, and really, but post-apocalyptic, I think, or games where there was a disaster and like you're there to investigate, where it sort of puts you against the world, and there's something really powerful about that, right? Which is as most gamers are familiar with, like I think games are part power fantasy, right? Where it's like this. The things you can't do in real life, you get to do in video games. Like you get to take on this huge obstacle. How frequently in real life are you pit against this, this evil corporation or zombies or whatever? How frequently are you actually put into those situations where 12 hours later you go, I beat them, I did it, like I've accomplished this mission, or I've survived in like the wilderness and was able to do this. You're just not very often put into these situations, so it's fun to kind of like test yourself in a very safe way, obviously. And so I find myself being like really enjoying that sense of isolation, the solitude. And then when I look at the games on my list, they all sort of have that in common, right? It's not just single player campaigns. It's like really desolate single player campaigns. And I think I fell in love with that a long, long time ago. So let's kick it off, man. Like I have my list in front of me, but I haven't seen your list. What are your favorite VR single player campaigns?
Well, we have definitely a load of overlaps. But before we get to that, I was just going to ask, as you were mentioning all that, have you seen the new PlayStation Plus commercial?
Oh, yes. Yeah, the live action one, right? Where it's like...
Yeah, I've just sent you a link now. I didn't know if it's something we could put on screen, because as soon as you started talking about like being in a world and like, living these experiences, I just thought of that commercial. It really captured it. PlayStation do just such wonderful live action adverts about, bringing the world that you're in into because the commercial's about we go out about our lives just doing everyday things, but when we go back to our homes, we are whatever we want to be. We can be in space, we can be heroes, we can take on zombies, exactly what you were saying. So right. That's really what came to mind. In terms of my list, I mean, look, there's going to be a lot of overlaps with the ones that you've mentioned, or you are going to mention. I've obviously seen from your Twitter feed. A game that I've started playing, and this is going to get a lot of groans in the chat this week, because I actually got it with my PSVR, and I'd never played it before. Started playing it, and I was like, this game is absolutely huge. I'm going to come back to it, and I never did, and that is Skyrim. And Skyrim VR, I have been told is, and I've already experienced, quite a bit of it already, but like it is one of the most incredible VR experiences because it's just it's an open world. You're in this space. So Skyrim is definitely on there. I'll just quickly go through a few, and then we can
Sure.
go in a bit more detail. The Persistence I absolutely loved.
Great choice.
Really, because even though it's very much, it has mechanics and you kind of know what the game is, and it's not story heavy in terms of there aren't cutscenes and stuff throughout the game. There is a real beginning and then ending, and I was quite impressed by the story arc of what it was about. I thought it was really, really cool. I was really impressed with the opening and throughout the campaign of Farpoint. I thought that Farpoint was really good. And then it's always, when we think of like single player campaigns, we think of first person stuff, but like Astrobot, very retro. I know it's a favorite in a lot of lists that we talk about, but I thought, as a game, forget a VR game, it's a really solid platformer game. The fact it's done in VR and they've optimized it for that is phenomenal. And there's very few VR games where I walk away going, I think that was perfect. Like, genuinely. Like, I think it was the right length. I would have loved it to be longer, but it was like, no, it was really trim. It had really cool, quirky things. It had good extracurricular stuff. You collect, coins that you can spend for your little spaceship.
Yeah.
It brought the magic of lots of games growing up as a kid, and it was a modern version. And so for me, that was just a really, I think we always talk favorably about Astrobot, about how fun it is, but when you think of it in terms of a game that's been developed, it's very self-contained, and you can see what the intention was, and they absolutely nailed it for that reason.
Hey, let's. I want to get back to some of the games on your list in just a second here, but I've got the new PlayStation Plus commercial all downloaded. We can jump over to full screen, and I can turn the sound up, and we can watch it together. Let's do this thing.
Hell yeah!
Does anybody know who they really are? I don't mean the side you let the world see, but who you are deep down inside. You probably think you know, but trust me, you don't. I sure didn't. How can you know yourself until you've been pushed to your limits? Until you've lived 1,000 lives. Till you've been where we weren't meant to go. Won and lost more than you ever knew you could. Done things you wish you could take back. And things you would give anything to do again. So no, you probably don't know who you are yet. But that's okay. What a life you'll live, exploring who you can be. Manners.
It is amazing. And it's a great tagline. Why be one thing when you can be anything?
Absolutely.
And I know I've mentioned this on previous Gamecasts about the dream that when you put the PSVR 2 on, you don't get a flat screen menu. You're actually in a place. Like that room he was walking around. That's the kind of thing you want to be the lobby for PSVR. You want little items dotted around the place for the games that you want to interact with. You want to collect stuff, and it just makes me excited because Sony keep referencing this kind of stuff in their commercials. So I do think that is the direction they want to take it. But I swear the music was like the Horizon music, but like it had notes from it. But I don't know if they actually took notes from various PlayStation titles. But really, really cool.
It seemed really expensive. And I feel like Sony does this frequently. They make these super expensive commercials that like aren't actually selling anything, right? It's like, yes, it's the new PlayStation Plus, but like I don't see anybody watching that commercial and going, "Oh, I need to sign up for the new Premium Plus. I need to spend more money." It's sort of just it's
a brand awareness exercise, and it nurtures the culture. And like as a PlayStation fan, I look at that and go, "Yeah, PlayStation is so cool," because that is one of my all-time favorite commercials. Is a PlayStation commercial where kids are playing in their bedroom the original PlayStation, and it's going around the room. Now it's based in the UK, so I'm sure that I'm going to have an affinity with it, maybe on a deeper level than the international audience. But it's going around the room, and you can see like the original Domino's pizza boxes from like the 90s, and like their shirts from school with like marker pen on it from where they got signed from their class. And then it looks out the window, and you have the skyline of London, and then it speeds up, and you see like certain buildings going up, and then as it goes round, you hear the PlayStation 2 starter screen, and the PlayStation 2 there, and the kids are a bit older, they've got girlfriends now and stuff like that, they're gaming and stuff, and it goes to the window again, and then more of the skyline of London builds up, and it goes round, and then I think it was a commercial for the PlayStation 3, or maybe it was the PlayStation 4. But I want them to remake the advert now and do it for the PlayStation 5, because it's that commercial wasn't really selling anything new, but that is how you nurture brand loyalty. Because I'm like, actually, PlayStation's been there with me for 25 years now, is it, or something like that? Like,
which is crazy that they suck. And I know this is a totally different conversation. We should change the name of the video to PlayStation adverts. But what sucks is that they are terrible about this whole backwards compatibility thing. They've got all these games that people remember so fondly from PlayStation 1 and PS2, and they're so scared for people to see what those games looked like back in the day. Even with the new PlayStation Plus Premium, I tried to play Ape Escape and like Jumping Flash, and I couldn't find an option to play them in their natural state. Like all three of the options were trying to like up-res and get rid of the aliasing, and like I was like, just let me play the games in their original resolution with the blockiness, and like you're not really fooling anybody. These games look bad, and I'm fine with that. Like, it's okay. Like, let me just enjoy nostalgia without dreamcasting the crap out of this resolution. Like, it's and so Sony's scared about being like, oh yeah, because you even see people on Twitter being like, oh, if you go back and play PlayStation 1 games, you won't be nearly as fond of them anymore. You're looking through rose-tinted glasses, the whole thing, right? Bullshit. Look behind me. Nothing but PS1 and PS2 games, and I play them still, and they look, to me, they look beautiful, right?
Yeah.
Let us enjoy these games the way they were, and stop being scared that like your old catalog don't look like SNES games. SNES games aged gracefully, beautifully. PS1 games have a special place in a lot of people's hearts. Don't fuck with it. Just let us enjoy them.
Do you think that's going to be a PSVR 2 thing? Like they're going to do a Mega Drive collection? Because you can play that in VR where you're playing them on the TV in the bedroom. Oh, yeah. Which I've actually not done yet. But they should do that with all their classic PlayStation ones, because then they could arguably do it at those qualities. Because they'll go, yeah.
No, don't do that. I don't want to do that. I don't want to play that way. Right? Just let me play on the flat screen. Let me just, and honestly, because the whole Sonic's Genesis collection, whatever the hell it was called, that you could sit in a room in VR. I'm sure there's people in the chat
Mega Drive collection.
No idea what we're talking about. Yeah, right. Genesis in the States.
Oh yes, right. Yeah.
and you could sit in this kid's room in VR and then play on a CRT television your flat screen game, and it's just like the novelty was fun. but man, like let me blow this up to my 50-inch TV, HD TV instead of like sitting in a virtual room and playing. It's like after the first 30 minutes, I was like, all right, can I just play this game normally? Anyway,
what are your campaign single player titles? By the way, it's nice to go on tangents like this. It's cool, but
for sure,
yeah,
for sure. As long as nobody has any place to be, let's check that. You guys,
sure.
You guys good? Do you have any place to be?
Yeah, but that commercial is really good, and it really ties into what you were saying about like when you're in those single player worlds of like you can be anyone. I love that shot in the commercial where he's looking at the fridge and you've got him as a cowboy and like basketball, like his face is just like doing all these things. It's so cool. Yeah.
Jazzy J, the Tarot Mage Game Cat in the chat says, wait, the Genesis Collection does have VR support? I thought that was a mistake on the PlayStation Store. Just make sure you're buying the right one. There's been so many different collections. Just make sure you are buying the one that does say VR support. And if you're curious what it looks like, I have a Let's Play up on the channel. That'll help you decide whether it's for you or not, I'm sure.
I love the difference Sega Genesis and Sega Master System. It's just such an interesting... Like, that was prior to the internet, so we never knew that it was different across the ocean. But yeah, Mega Drive and Genesis. Oh.
Yeah.
What is the top game on your list, Brian? Like, what would you say?
To no one's surprise, it's Resident Evil 7. Ay, Dios mío. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, Resident Evil 7 is obviously like my favorite game on PSVR. Most of the DLC, the whole thing, whatever. But as far as the single player campaign stuff goes, there's a reason why it's number one on my list. It's because I think it's the only one that feels like an actual console quality, full length, actual game. It's like something we've been dying for, which we got here and there. We got Skyrim, we got Borderlands, we got a few here and there. But like Resident Evil 7 does everything I want it to do. It's scary, it's actually terrifying, and it's just super, super immersive, despite the fact it doesn't have move. Yeah, you think so? You think it'll be a PSVR 2 game?
Indeed. PSVR 2. Like I was watching Digital Foundry do a review of the PS5 update, and it looks beautiful. So yeah, hopefully that is the stepping stone. Oh, they're gonna do it.
Let's hope so. It makes no sense like why they wouldn't, right? It'd be
I
mean, again, everything in the RE engine is designed to be playable in VR. That's why the modders had such an easy time doing it on PC, right? Why wouldn't you just try to make a few extra bucks, be there at PSVR 2 launch or soon after, Resident Evil 2, 3, 4, 7, 8. I wonder if I'd play 5 and 6.
They've built the VR.
I would play 5 and 6 in VR.
They built the VR interface for Ethan in RE8, so obviously it's not a direct port, but like when you do hand motions, that's going to be like some physics you have to work out and rules. But they've now worked that out for RE8, so yeah, they're as close as they've ever been to making it happen.
One of the ones on your list that I'm actually like, it's stuck in my head the second you said it was Farpoint, and I've got to ask. Because people are going to be like, wait, Brian, why are you questioning Myles about this? What do you have against Farpoint? And some of you guys already know, and some of you guys are about to find out. But let me ask you, why does Farpoint make it onto your single-player campaign list?
So for me, like, I don't know if I'd say it's like one of the top, but like when the question was posed, for me, it wasn't necessarily like what are the best games. It's like what comes to mind straight away. Okay. And Farpoint, just because... It really captured that VR magic when you're playing that game and you've got that opening and then the cutscenes. I mean, the gameplay itself, I think, is pretty cool. I wouldn't say it's one of my favorite games, but the moments where you can see the holograms of the people that you're with, and I was just quite blown away by it. I thought it was just an incredibly lovely looking game. And I love the concept of it, and I thought it was just a great introduction for me into VR.
It was a seminal moment, I think, in most of our PSVR experiences. On the voyage that we took through the PSVR lifespan, the aim controller launching with Farpoint and being able to experience that, and like the way that the aim controller felt in your hands, the way the shooting felt, everything felt really, really good. As
the
a
jumping
game,
spiders are still the scariest thing ever.
Love it. Love it, love it, love it. When I was playing through and I was like, oh, this isn't just a first person shooter. This is gonna scare the crap out of me. I was very, very happy when I came to that realization. I had a nightmare about a spider the other night. Like not even a big jumping Farpoint spider. The thing was like legit this big, and I was like, and I in my dream, like you know how sometimes like you don't have control of your hands in your dreams. I was doing something like this and like trying to push it away with the web, and then I finally pushed so hard that I woke myself up and went, "Where is it?" And I couldn't even like go back to sleep because I was like, "There's a little tiny spider in my room." Like I just couldn't handle it. Forget about Farpoint spiders. But a little tiny spider in my dream was all it took to fucking freak out. I'm super lame, but I definitely have some severe arachnophobia. Yeah, the story for me. Yes, the experience was great in Farpoint especially because it used the aim controller so well. But for me, it's definitely the story that is so well told and mostly pretty optional, and it only occasionally pulled you out of the game and forced you to watch cutscenes, right? Like it just made you sit there. Usually, it's like you're scanning and then like something's happening in front of you, and you can still like wander around and shoot crap while you're doing it. But I will say, without that story, I think Farpoint would have been extremely underwhelming. As a game, I think it suffers. It's not a terribly well designed first person shooter in my book.
Sure.
You know, it all just feels like a tunnel, or they're funneling you constantly down this tube, down this path. Very Final Fantasy 13 of them. But I do still love it despite its faults. You know, and that kind of like shows what a great game it is. That like maybe it has these major design issues, but still fucking amazing game. Dude, I got to give a shout out to Red Matter. Red Matter for me is like just so, it's VRAF, man. Like the setup is great, right? I mean everything about it. Like again, that sense of isolation, going through like your puzzle solving, but unlike Resident Evil, right? If you play Resident Evil, it's like I'm gonna hold this item up in getting this shadow to place properly as like a shadow puppet puzzle. It's like how the fuck does that work? Like it's such an illogical thing. Like it's fun to do in a game, but it's an illogical puzzle, right? Everything in Red Matter was somewhat logical. It's like, oh, I don't know how to operate these machines, and there's like just tons of stuff to scan. You scan this and there's like instructions. Here's how to operate the machines. And then you like bring power back on. It just seemed way more logical, even though it was like a really bizarre game that was not terribly grounded in reality for a good percentage of the game. Everything felt fairly logical. And I think that's something that's missing from a lot of puzzle games.
It's a game I'm really looking forward to playing. Unfortunately, my copy isn't downloading properly at the moment. There's been an issue with the PlayStation server. So, but as soon as I get it, I'm going to jump into it straight away. I've got a massive backlog.
Yeah, you do. And this is something I wanted to talk about because somebody asked us during the last show, when are we going to do our next top 25 debate? And I honestly think the next time we do a top 25 debate will be a top 50 debate. Let's make it this like culmination of all 6 years of the PlayStation VR lifecycle and have all of us there. And so you've got a few months to kind of get caught up on all the games you need to play so that you're you got a well-rounded list when you come into it. I'm excited for you to play all these games too, because you've got some good ones. You've played most of the big ones, but you've still got a couple of good ones on your list to play.
Yeah, I definitely, when going through the list of the top 25 and how many I'd played and not, I was pleasantly surprised. Because I remember when I first got engaged with the community and I'd watch you talking about all these games, I thought, God, I'm never going to catch up. Because I came like three years in and there was a lot of great games.
Yeah.
But I realized that since then, I was always getting the big games that came out for the most part. So, yeah, it's cool. That's exciting. In terms of other games on the list, just to wrap things up, I mean, Wanderer, I think we both agree on. Wanderer straight away goes to the top of my list. I'm probably 2-3 quarters of the way through. I'm stuck on one puzzle area, but I'm really looking forward. I sort of went into it going, I bet it's going to be a good game, but I'm not overly hyped for it. And then as I'm playing it, I'm like, actually, this is incredible. Absolutely incredible.
And really just an absolute surprise too. Like leading up to that game where everybody was like, how are they going to charge $40 for this? How, there's just no way this is going to sell. Like there's no way this game, like look, judging from the trailers. And I was doubtful too, because you look at the trailer and you go, oh, every single environment seems to be one room or one small area. And just realizing what a much bigger scope this game has than what we had originally thought, the $40 price tag is, in my book at least, absolutely warranted. Just a unforgettable experience. I don't know like where you are story wise, and I don't want to ask because I don't want to spoil it for anybody out there, and I don't want to accidentally spoil something you haven't seen yet. But man, about 2/3 of the way through this game, shit gets crazy, and it's just like to me, it's one of those unforgettable VR moments where you're just like, I'm gonna remember.
I must be coming just up to it now. Yeah,
because you're like, well, nothing's done that to me yet, so hopefully, fingers crossed.
Not at that level. I mean, there's been a lot of fantastic stuff. The bit I'm on, this isn't gonna be a spoiler because it's in the trailer in terms of the scene, but I'm on the stage in front of all the people with the instruments, like on the rock stage, and that. I've got some tasks to do there. So
right on.
Yeah.
I think we need to talk about Saints and Sinners.
Nah.
Okay. What else do you want to talk about?
It's just a talking head simulator, isn't it? With on the bus. Pillow fort simulator.
Wait, didn't somebody just say that in the chat?
I don't know. Did they?
Elk V3D just said it's a bunch of talking heads, isn't it?
I
don't know what they're referring to. But it's just funny to see that in the chat, then hear it from you. I was like, that's funny.
The pillow forts people make of just like absolutely piling up the most ridiculous amount of pillows in the truck. That is like when games are good, because I have to admit, when it's like, oh, you can take stuff back to the bus and leave it there, yes. You're like, but I'm worried that I'm going to leave stuff and then it's just going to say, oh, we can't remember that many items. It's like, no, it does remember it. And so when you see people that have literally got like 20 to 30 pillows, I'm just like, okay, this is awesome. That's a good quality control test.
Yeah.
How many pillows until the game breaks?
It's funny. The number one complaint I have about this game, and I apologize to everyone who's sick of hearing me talk about it, is that the whole story is delivered through a fucking radio, right? It's like, and here you are. It's like, okay, now we're going to stare at the radio with this little juggler face, on top of it. And you're like, or jester, I guess what it is. And it's like, yeah. Oh, not the radio again, right? And so, but the funny thing is that it's a valid complaint, I think, especially since like you're not able to craft or do anything else, like recycle your items and empty your backpack while you're listening to the radio. I think that part's a valid complaint, but I do have to say that like, because you're still not interacting with actual NPCs, like very infrequently are you interacting with anything that's not a zombie, it really does add even further to that isolation feeling. Where you're like, yes, there seem to be real people out there, but like they're still inaccessible.
Yeah.
It's like I can't quite get to them, and I'm trying to get to them, and it's just to me it just makes that feeling of isolation so much stronger. I mean, the first character you meet is hanging upside down by his fucking feet, right? You're like, oh, okay, the NPCs don't end well around here, right? And so
yeah.
So despite the fact that I complain about the radio, I do feel like it did, in a way, enhanced my that feeling of isolation and my fear every time I decide to head out and head out of my safe zone into this desolate wasteland and go either scavenge for items or complete missions and stuff. It worked pretty well, man. Really worked pretty well. I want to point out that Dark Angel 3 in the chat says, looky over there, a like button. Don't forget to click the like, guys. Don't forget to click the like button. Although
we didn't set a target today, but that's all right. We're gonna have a week off targets. But let's get to 100. We're 9 away from 100. I mean, come on. At least get to 100 likes. There's 170 of you watching right now. So if you haven't already, press that like button. I'm not going to set a target. But no, the thing I was going to say about Saints and Sinners is I've not completed the game because I play it for tens of hours. I get probably halfway through the campaign, and then I move on to another game, and then I come back to Saints and Sinners, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to start again. I can probably do it better. And then I do tens of hours, and then the same thing happens. I have played, enough to have completed the game like 4 or 5 times over, but I've played only the first half. But that goes to the credit of, well, you might say, well, it's clearly not kept you for the full thing. I don't think it is that. I think it's that good of a game that I'm always like, I'm happy to start again and like go through that story and do it even better each time.
Mm-hmm.
And I am determined to get to the end, especially before we do a top 50. Although it's definitely going to go up, high up there. But yeah, I've always been blown away by it. But every time I play it, and it's like you got to go through the underground bit in the graveyard, I'm just like, oh, I don't want to do this again. Yeah.
Man, I'm surprised we haven't even asked the chat this yet, because I've been paying close attention to the chat tonight. What's the best single player campaign for you guys? Like, very curious, because there's always, people always bring up games that I'm like, oh yeah, how did I not think about that, right? And of course, you know, when we were doing top fives on Twitter yesterday, you only have so much space. So while I love the persistence, it's so close to my top five. Golem was so close to my top five. I think Golem was number 6. Again, huge feeling of isolation, right? Very, very good stuff. Myles, the last game that I think really, really needs to be mentioned here is Song in the Smoke. Super underappreciated game. Sharknado, of course, right?
Great story.
Sharknado?
Yeah.
It was funny. I saw German Rifter VR on Twitter yesterday when I was talking about Song in the Smoke. He said, he's like, oh, I'm shocked that, you know, there's so much love for that. I thought it was just a survival game. I didn't realize there was, like, you know, some kind of narrative or something. And you know, the funny thing is that, like, I don't think there really has to be a narrative. For me, Song in the Smoke kind of has a lack of narrative. There's some trippy cutscenes that are a nice break from the action. But they're very short, and they're open to interpretation, I think, possibly. But most of it is just you surviving and progressing through to these more dangerous territories, and just, you know, occasionally coming back to where you started to sort of regroup and collect some items and then craft some more shit and move on forward. And I thought the lack of narrative, like the lack of a substantial narrative, made it, and I think I said this during my review, so this shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone. I think it made it more personal. I think it, you know, the developers aren't out there telling me the story. Like, all the memories I have of this game are my story. You know, it's like, oh, do you remember when I fought that fucking lion or whatever the hell it was? Like, that was fucking intense. So he was like, you know, he was chasing me up. I was jumping up these rocks, and he was chasing me up the rocks. We ran behind the waterfall, and whatever. I jumped down and shot an arrow and took him out. It's like, it's these kind of epic moments that don't need dialogue. They don't need narration. And I kind of hope that this is where VR is sort of heading. It's like, there are much better ways to tell stories than the stories that we've been told. Especially in VR.
I hope. And maybe that lends to like why things like Skyrim, Green Hell that's coming out eventually would be good. It's why I love The Forest. I know it's a flat screen game, but there is a VR mod, and I hope there is a VR version. I go on again and again. But the reason that The Forest I love so much as a game is because you can literally just survive and not do any of the actual main story, and you'll still have an adventure. But the story itself is not like signposted. You just go about it however you want. There's a general sense of direction. And so actually, when you recall what was the story of The Forest, you're actually telling your story of what you did. And yeah, that can be the real magic of it. One game that was mentioned in the chat that I didn't put on my list, but I definitely would. And it was the last PlayStation VR game I played before getting a PlayStation 5, because it was one of the few games that wasn't going to be playable on PS5. And I always remember it getting quite a mixed reaction. I got a sense that it had a lot of negative, reviews from people generally.
Just from AJ.
Was it just from AJ?
Just from AJ.
But like, I just thought, I generally thought a lot of people didn't like it. But and Robinson's The Journey.
Yeah.
I was really impressed by it. Yeah, I when I played it as I said, as a last game before going on to PS5, I was like, okay, this is, and maybe it's about expectations as well. Like, it wasn't a perfect game, but my goodness, the world building, and it was beautiful. And this isn't really going to be a spoiler, but
I'm already ready to cover my ears. I know I beat the game, but
yeah, but don't. Put it this way, Velociraptors.
Yes.
Well, The way I describe this about VR is when there are enemies that are the same height of you on a flat screen game, they're on a flat screen the other side of the room, so you have no sense of perspective. I always mention it with Minecraft and creepers. When I first played Minecraft in VR and you see a creeper come up to you, which is just the same height as you, you're like, holy shit, they're massive. And having a velociraptor follow you and you turn around, and I was like, I'm going to look at it because it was going to kill me. I was like, I'm going to look at it. Jesus. I was ready to order some adult diapers. That was not good. That was not good at all. Absolutely terrifying. It just reminded me of like the original Jurassic Park movie, that famous scene in the kitchen.
Yeah,
and I was
absolutely.
like, yeah, really cool. I really enjoyed it. So actually, I have to say, when I think of single player campaigns, that is one that has definitely stuck with me. I have really fond memories of it. And you have a really cute dino companion. So yeah.
And there's some great titles that the chat's recommending here. Trevor Saves the Universe is what Brax Bro said. The Brobarian says he's never heard of Wanderer, but Resistance, Fall of Man, and Killzone are some of his favorites. Hopefully we'll get some VR versions of those. Next Gen. Ash VR, the Groovy Gamecast, says Saints and Sinners is definitely up there. What else we got? Sean Stockton is adamant that we mentioned Blood and Truth. Which Blood and Truth I think has a great campaign to it. But again, the storytelling for that is just like a lot of staring at people while they talk to you. But I do think that the gameplay during the gameplay segments is phenomenal. Love the whole time crisis vibe with exploration. Love that stuff. So really good. PPO, the Silent Hill Game Cat, says, I can tell that Horizon Call of the Mountain will be in my top 5 with Resident Evil 8. We'll get AJ in here is talking about Hitman, and definitely not one to skip out on, despite the rough DualShock 4 controls.
Just going back to Horizon Call of the Mountain, the way I feel about it is if it is a game that's going to be quite linear, like the original Uncharted games, I would say the original Uncharted games, just because Uncharted did have some more open world elements than the later ones. But that just makes me excited because Uncharted, was a real I hate using this term when we're talking about games, but it was a real game changer in the industry of having really cinematic gaming experiences. Yes, it was linear, but it felt amazing. And I think this could be the VR version of that. And if that's what they achieve, my goodness, what a great way to kickstart a new generation of virtual reality.
Yeah, and linear doesn't always mean, I think, exactly what a lot of people think it means either. I think linear can, when I played something like The Last of Us, sure, it's it's moving from scene to scene to scene, and you're not really backtracking, right? But at the same time, each of those environments you find yourself in, they're big, right? You're going to spend a lot of time in there, and you're going to find a lot of secrets. If you can either rush right through the game, or you can stop and smell the roses and find every single possible item you can to craft. There's and that's what I'm hoping for with Horizon. Even if it is fairly linear, I'm really hoping that there's a lot of time, or there's a reason to stop and smell the roses. That there's a reason, because when they talk about crafting on the PlayStation blog, when they talk about Call of the Mountain, to me that means you're obviously finding things to craft with and searching for those key items. To make the later parts of the game easier, I think is going to be a big part of the experience, and I really hope it is, because I love that kind of stuff.
Absolutely, Brian.
Dude, are you ready for the best 6 minutes of the day? Best 6 minutes of the day might be the best 6 minutes as well.
6 minutes.
I've never timed myself, but I'm pretty sure that's accurate. Myles, what is 20 questions? You're the host this time around.
You would say, Myles, what is our 20 questions game today? Yeah, Brian, it
I'm
is
pretty
Angry
sure.
Birds VR Isle of Pigs.
I'm pretty sure
Let's
that was about to come out of my mouth. I'm glad you picked up on that. Guys, I'm going to need all the help in the world. Even though I've played every PSVR game there is, I always freeze up when we play this game. I need, from all the cats in the chat, I need you to help me out on this. Give me some good suggestions, whatever you think the game might be. Give me some good questions to help me figure out what game this is. We only have 6 minutes and 20 questions, 20 yes or no questions, to figure out what game, PSVR game, Myles Dyer, Too Wise, is thinking of. All right.
Too Wise Dyer.
Here we go. I'm putting the timer up now. I got to get my notebook ready because I've got a terrible memory. Let's go. Does it have analog? Can you use analog sticks to play this game?
No.
Okay.
1.
So we're thinking moves only. Okay. Are you mostly shooting in this game?
No, you're not.
Shooting. That's a no. Okay.
And the chat is all about sex now. This is what happens every week. We have a word where it's penis or sex. So
Yeah, didn't you ever watch Pee Wee's Playhouse? This is how it works. It's all right.
Yeah, that's true.
I have 2 played fantastic contraptions. I just haven't reviewed it. Sorry, didn't mean to call you out secret stuff. Oh, I need to keep asking questions. Is this heavily narrative driven?
No.
Oh. Is it multiplayer?
Yes. Full.
Yes, multiplayer. Is it co-op multiplayer?
No. 5.
You said no, not co-op. Is that what you said?
Correct.
Okay.
That's 6. I'm joking. That would be such an evil move.
Right.
And I'm not evil.
Would you personally fight for this game on a top 25 list?
No. 6. Sex. If I was Australian, sex.
Oh,
Sex, mate.
Roy Schwartz, good question. Does it have full locomotion?
No. 7.
Okay. No
7, mate.
full locomotion. That's bad. We'll go with Tiff. Does it have any rhythm elements?
Yes.
Whoa. Okay, hold on a second.
Hey.
We gotta take our time here now. So yes, it has rhythm elements. No full locomotion. Not a top 25 Myles game. No co-op. Yes, multiplayer.
Yeah.
Not narrative-driven. Not shooty. And no analog controls. So move-only rhythm game. And you're not shooting, so that gets rid of Audica. It gets rid of Starship Disco. Rhythm, guys. Rhythm. Is this game like obscure? Do you think most of the cats have heard of it or not?
It is not obscure.
Not obscure. Okay.
9.
That gets rid of Run Dorothy Run, you guys. I was like, what the hell's Run Dorothy Run? Can't be Pistol Whip because it doesn't involve a lot of shooting. Sprint Factor is not rhythm based. Does this game have songs from like Muse in it?
No, it doesn't.
Okay,
10.
No synth riders, guys. Is this a remake of? So see, Rez does involve a ton of shooting. All right, let's get the question out of it though. Let's get Is this a remake of an old Dreamcast game?
No, it's not.
Okay, no Rez.
11.
No Rez. Rhythm of the Universe, Ionia. That wasn't rhythm, strangely enough. Thumper used analog sticks. That was a DualShock game, you guys. But good suggestions. Zombie asked, does it have licensed music, licensed songs?
Define licensed.
Songs you would hear on a radio rather than just.
For the purpose of this, I'm going to say no.
Okay.
There might be some exceptions, but not that comes to mind. 12.
Okay, it can't be Space Channel 5, Mark, because strangely, when I asked if it was a remake of an old Dreamcast game, I think that would have been that. Um, but I said, is this could you use this game for workout, like for exercise?
Yeah, you could. 13.
Okay, so are you boxing in this game?
Yes, you are. 14.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, thank God these songs are not on the radio. Is this is this game Box VR?
Yes, it is. Well done.
Holy
That's the
mazzoli.
sound of me being really happy that you got it. I did want to go, shut up, chat, stop guessing. Yeah. Box VR.
I think it was Genetic Blasphemy of the Abbreviated Dreams Cat. I think he was the first one to get it. And if anybody else said it before that, I apologize. I just missed it. Although, OKV3D said Foxy Boxing VR, which was pretty damn close. It's not a real game.
Silent Hill Game Cat was getting close. It was like, what's that boxing rhythm game? And then no one responded. I was like, shut up. Yeah. No, good one. 15. Yeah, nice.
Yeah, not bad, not bad. And you know, and as terrible as Box VR technically is, we certainly spent a lot of time. Spent a lot of time with Box VR, with my friends. Myles, you were part of this for a while with a lot of the cats, and I will tell you, we played every single day for an hour. And I know Rypop and I were using weighted gloves, and I mean, I think I'll tell you, it was pretty good. And when I stopped doing it, I regretted having stopped because it was a good routine to get into. You get in there with friends, you burn some calories together. Even though it's got major problems, like for the $7 or $8 you can pick it up for on sale, Box VR is not terrible. Just be aware the game kind of sucks, but it gets the job done.
And I'm pretty sure the lobby still has on the news board like a post from like the latest news was March 2019 or something.
Right.
And they've just like constantly been dodging, and like Fit VR or Fit XR, I think it's called now, like the update for Oculus. I hope they bring it for PSVR too, because they got that subscription model and stuff. Like, it was so promising. The fact that they like had professionals that do workouts live. That's the kind of stuff I'm doing. And actually, on that note, as we sort of segue towards the end of the show, I did last weekend on Saturday. I did a Beat Saber workout session. A couple of game cats showed up. It was good fun. I'm thinking of doing it again maybe tomorrow. So just keep your eye out on the Beat Saber board. We didn't really talk about this today, but Brian and I have tried it. It was this kind of idea I had, and it works out good. But basically, you play the songs on hard, which for many people is not tricky. It's like you got to think about it a little bit, but they're all stuff, I think.
Talking about VR stuff, I think. Okay, we should be back. So sorry, everybody. Typical Without Parole nonsense has crashed OBS, but
right at the end. But I was just saying that we play hard mode on Beat Saber, but you do it on the fastest mode, 50% faster.
Right.
Firstly, it's just it's quite fun because you hear songs in a whole new light that kind of makes you laugh, but you're like, I shouldn't be laughing, I should be thinking or focusing on what I'm doing. But also, I think it's a great way of getting better at the game because you have patterns that aren't particularly complicated, but the speed makes you have to work out a lot. And then I found when I went on to Expert or Expert Plus on normal speed, it cleaned up a lot of bad habits I had. So yeah, we might do that tomorrow. Nice. The other thing I was going to mention is Rec Room. I've been playing so much that lately. Been loving Rec Royale. Now they fixed it for the PS5, Brian. We need to jump in that.
That was like my favorite thing to do on Rec Room.
So dude, I've been playing so much of it. Like, having an absolute blast. But we have the PSVR without Parole Rec Room that we created. But there's also a PSVR without Parole club. Now, clubs, you can't actually join via the website and that. You have to go in the game. So you just look at your watch, bottom left corner, it's club. You click there and then search PSVR or without parole. You'll see the PSVR without Parole club. And if you join it, it means that every time you log into Rec Room, you will spawn in the PSVR without Parole room, which is cool. And it's just a good way to meet up with other people that want to play. And yeah, we're at we've cleared 600 members now. So a lot of people are joining. A lot of people that are PSVR gamers that hadn't heard about the show. So could be a good way of getting people involved in the show from that side of things. But also I'm going to start setting up some events as well, so everyone gets notifications for meetups and stuff like that. So yeah, good fun.
Very good fun. Before I read these last couple tips, Myles, is there anything you have to promote over on your official Myles Dyer YouTube channel, which is, as we all know, youtube.com/Myles. Amazing.
So we had a really good show on Wednesday, which was looking back at childhood TV shows. Currently, it's offline because of copyright claims that I'm disputing, which is frustrating. Next Wednesday is the last Wednesday of the month, so it's just a Q&A, just a free-for-all, really.
Nice.
So I would say tune in on Wednesday. But the other thing I'd shout out is tonight on the PSVR Without Parole Twitter account, you may have seen that we've posted a highlight clip from last Friday's show. Just something we quickly whipped up, talking about Beat Saber. If you're on Twitter, do retweet it. Respond with things you'd like to see in Beat Saber, because we think Beat Games are probably going to see it. But something we would love is, after any of these shows, and not just the Friday show, Monday with AJ, Wednesday with Wes.
Just rolls off the tongue, doesn't it?
Yeah. If there's ever a segment, it could be 30 seconds. If there's something that happens during the show that you're like, that'd be a great highlight, just link us the timestamp in the comments of this or on Twitter, because I would like to every week start doing highlight clips of the show, because I think it's a great way to, it's the same with my own show. It's one thing to promote, hey, I'm going live again this week, and a lot of people know what that means, but people that don't watch the show don't know what that means. And so showing highlight clips, it's just a great way of introducing this show and this community to the wider Twitterverse of VR gamers. So yeah, we're happy to edit the highlight clips from our end, but any game cats that even from this episode think, oh, actually that would be a good clip, just link us. It really helps us out. So I want to say thank you in advance if you do.
For sure. Guys, and we didn't talk about Patreon at all this episode, but I do want to point out that if you want your name on that endlessly scroll down there 3 times a week, that is the $3 tier. Over on patreon.com/withoutparolegames. Also gives you access to voice chat over on Discord. Don't forget you can join Discord. Other than voice chat, completely free. It's a huge community and a lot of different channels to hang out in. Lots of stuff to talk about. Everything from music to video games, retro games to PSVR 1 to PSVR 2. We got some release calendars over there. Very cool place to hang out. And, because obviously some developers that hang out there as well. So it can be a pretty cool place to talk to people that make the games you love. And talk to us. Not that I see that as a privilege. But with also, I'm trying to make the $5 tier on Patreon even more attractive than it was, because before there wasn't very much. And so I've been doing monthly AMAs. The next AMA, which if you don't know is Ask Me Anything. Literally, we kind of drop the video game stuff, or we can talk about video game stuff, but it gets a little bit more personal. You guys can ask me any questions that you want, and I hang out, and it's just cool. It ends up being 2 hours every single time. Last time I played guitar, and I was like, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't have done that. Maybe I should have practiced first, but I did it because you asked me to. And we're doing another one tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern. I don't know what time that is in other places because I have no idea, but Google should help you out. $5 tier gets you that, but also AJ and I did the very first Why We Love episode in a very, very long time. We did that about Immortal Legacy, and that again was exclusively for the $5 tier. I'm going to make sure we have at least one of those every single month, and of course the monthly AMAs, trying to make that $5 tier more attractive. So thank you all for signing up for that, for giving your feedback, and of course, let me know how we can make it even more attractive for you. One might be rewarded. Thank you, Myles. And great work this evening.
We have another tip to end on, which is
2 tips.
Oh, well, yeah, sure. You have 2 tips.
Yeah.
The Donatello one. Oh, man. Generosity through the roof.
From Donatello the Scientist Game Cat. It's a $100 tip. Thank you very much, Donnie. It says, thank you, Brian and Myles, for your thoughts on such an important moment in our lives. #solidarity. Thank you everybody out there, really, for this isn't something we normally do on the show. We very, very seldom bring up anything like this. This was important to us. It was time to say something, and hopefully, again, being able to coexist with different thoughts, I think, is the most important trait of being a game cat. And I love all of you guys for proving that we're capable of doing this, like capable of coexisting despite our differences. And Sean Stockton with a $2 tip just gives us a red heart. Don't forget, he wants you to know that Blood and Truth is a great single-player VR campaign. Myles, let's get out of here, man. Thank you to everybody who hung out during the show. Thank you to everybody who unsubscribed today. We'll miss you, but not that much. Thank you to everybody who remained here. We don't have to miss you. We love you. Thanks you're here. Thank you to everybody who supports us on Patreon. Thank you to all of our moderators that make my life endlessly less frustrating, not just here, but over on Discord. And of course, thank you to everybody who sat back and watched the show and didn't say a goddamn word. We know you're out there, and we love you just as much.
And after this show, sorry,
that's supposed to be how we end the show, Myles. Right. And then we go click.
Let's just end.
Nope.
I'm going to hide behind my funny card.
You've already ruined it.
This is.
We were doing so well, Brian.
I'm going to put you up on the big screen. Here we go.
No,
big screen. Hey, Fraser. How's it going? People like you don't come along every day. Not since we put that no weirdo sign.
That's good.
That's how we're on the show. That's it.
I feel like I can't even say what I was going to say now.
Nope, too bad. You could say it after the theme music goes. Here we go. Bye-bye. What? Just say it's like you're bursting at the seams. Just say it. What do you have to say, Myles? Get it out of your system. Did we not talk enough over the last hour and 40 minutes? What could you possibly have to say?
I can't say it. It's not important. I've still got a lot of energy. I'm gonna be in Rec Room straight after the live show if anyone wants to join.
Okay. I'm just gonna hang out in voice chat because Rec Room sounds like work, and I already played.
What if we team up,
I played hours of Zenith today. I played some Beat Saber. I was just trying to unwind. I did my thing. Whoa! Alejandro with the $2 tip says your band should be called My Chemical Romance. VR
That's amazing.
Romance. I love it.
That's a way better way to end the show.
Yeah. Thank you, Alejandro. We appreciate you and we love you.